She screamed at him to leave her lake, but the moment he pulled out the deed, everyone realized the lake didn't belong to her. It belonged to him. It was a quiet morning, and the sun had just started to rise over the calm waters of the lake. The sky was painted in soft shades of orange and pink, and the reflection danced on the surface of the lake like a gentle mirror. Tyler loved mornings like these, this lake, this peace. This silence, it was all part of the dream he had built for himself after years of stressful work in the corporate world. He had worked hard, saved carefully, and finally decided to retire early. He wanted a place far away from noise, meetings, traffic, and deadlines. This small piece of paradise was exactly what he needed. 8 years ago, he had found this beautiful lakeside property in a small town. It wasn't flashy or popular, but it had something special: privacy. He had bought a private piece of land, and with it came part of the lake that was legally his. The deal included special rights that let him use that section of water freely. Over the years, Tyler had built a small wooden cabin, added a dock, and planted flowers around it. He kept to himself, always kind, but not too social. People nearby knew him as the quiet man on the lake. That morning, he stepped out of his cabin with a cup of coffee in hand and his loyal golden retriever, Max, by his side. Max wagged his tail as they walked toward the dock. Tyler unhooked the kayak, placed it in the water, and hopped in with Max seated up front like a captain. Slowly, they paddled into the calm, cold water. Birds chirped from the trees, and everything felt peaceful until a loud voice suddenly broke the silence. "Hey you, get off the lake." Tyler stopped paddling and looked around. On the opposite dock stood a woman in her 50s, hands on her hips, wearing sunglasses and an angry frown. She looked completely out of place in the peaceful setting. Like a storm cloud on a clear day, he blinked, confused, and called back politely, "I'm sorry, are you talking to me?" "Yes, you. This is private property. You're trespassing." Tyler's face showed surprise. He gently paddled closer, but still kept a respectful distance. "Ma'am, I think there's a misunderstanding. I own this section of the lake. The property includes water access and usage rights." She scoffed loudly and waved him off. No. This lake is for the residents of the community. Can't just paddle around wherever you like. I just moved here, and I know the rules." Her voice was sharp, filled with confidence, but no knowledge. Tyler had dealt with arrogant people before in his career, but here in nature, it felt extra wrong. He tried to stay calm. "I've lived here for 8 years, he said gently. "And I have legal documents that allow me to use this part of the lake. It's not community-owned, it's split. You must be new here." That seemed to make her angrier. She stepped closer to the edge of the dock and shouted, "I don't care how long you've lived here. If you don't leave now, I'm calling the police." Max gave a little growl, sensing his owner's stress. Tyler patted him calmly. He didn't want to fight, especially not over something so easily proven with paperwork. "You're welcome to come see the documents," he offered, trying once more to be reasonable. "I can show you the deed and the maps. I don't need to see anything," she yelled back. "You're clearly breaking the rules. I'm going to report you to the HOA and the police. Mark my words." She stormed off, heels clicking, on the wooden boards of the dock and disappeared behind a large house built just a year ago. Tyler sighed deeply. The beautiful morning had suddenly turned sour. He paddled back slowly, his mind turning over the interaction. Why didn't she want to hear the facts? Why had she been so quick to attack instead of ask? He wasn't angry, just disappointed. He'd come here to escape people like that. Back at the cabin, Tyler dried off Max, then made breakfast. To forget the incident, thinking maybe it was just a one-time misunderstanding. Maybe she'd talk to someone, learn the truth, and everything would be fine. But something about her tone, her refusal to listen, made him worry. That evening, he saw a few unfamiliar cars parked near the entrance of the lakeside community. New neighbors. Maybe she had moved in with a group or family. He wasn't sure. He usually avoided gossip, but now he wondered if she had told others that he was some kind of trespass. Later that night, he heard talking outside. He peeked out and saw the same woman standing with a few people, pointing toward his cabin and shaking her head angrily. He couldn't hear the exact words, but it didn't look friendly. He stood there, quietly, not opening the door or engaging. He knew this lake, this land, and this peace better than anyone else here. He had bought it with his hard-earned money, cared for it, protected it. He'd seen deer drink from the lake, birds build nests near his cabin, and seasons change around. The same waters she now claimed weren't his. Tyler didn't sleep well that night. Something told him this wouldn't be the last time he heard from her. But instead of anger, he felt determined. If she really wanted to challenge him, she'd have to face the truth that he owned that piece of the lake, and nothing she screamed could change that. In the morning, he opened his old wooden drawer, pulled out a folder marked property documents, and placed it neatly on his desk. Then, with a calm heart, he walked outside again, coffee in hand, and looked out over the lake. No matter what came next, he was ready. The next day, Tyler hoped that everything would return to normal. Maybe the angry woman had realized her mistake. Maybe someone had told her that the lake wasn't fully public. Maybe she had taken some time to calm down. Tyler tried to stay positive. But deep down, he felt something wasn't right. He had seen the way she looked at him, like she wasn't just angry, but proud of being angry, proud of causing a scene. He spent the morning doing small chores around his cabin, cleaned the dock, fixed the bird feeder, and played fetch with Max. Around noon, he went out to the lake again, this time sitting at the edge of the dock with his feet in the water. The sun was warm, the breeze soft, and everything looked peaceful, but the calm wouldn't last long. A loud noise broke the stillness again. This time it was the sound of multiple voices, footsteps, and someone shouting his name. Tyler. He looked up and saw the same woman from yesterday. But she wasn't alone. She had brought her husband and 2 other neighbors with her. They were all walking toward his cabin from the side road that connected the lakeside houses. Was holding a phone, already filming. There he is, she said loudly to the others, pointing at him like he was a criminal caught in the act. This is the guy I told you about. He thinks he owns the lake. Tyler stood up slowly, calm but cautious. Didn't like being filmed, especially not by someone trying to make him look guilty. Good afternoon, he said quietly. I really don't want any trouble. You already brought trouble, the woman snapped. You're using our lake without permission. My husband checked the HOA handbook. Outsiders aren't allowed. Her husband, a big man with crossed arms, stepped forward. Look, we're trying to be reasonable. You don't live in the community. You have no right to use the water. I actually do, Tyler replied, keeping his voice firm but polite. I bought this property with full water rights. My section of the lake is privately owned, not shared. I have the legal documents to prove it. But the woman wasn't interested in documents. She waved her phone in his face and said, I've already posted the video of you from yesterday. People agree. With me, you don't belong here. Tyler felt a strange twist in his stomach. She had posted the video. What video? What had she said in it? You posted a video of me, he asked. Of course I did, she said proudly. You were trespassing. What? People need to know who you are. I tagged the local Facebook group, the HOA board, and even the sheriff's office.
Tyler looked at it.
Others who had come with her. One neighbor seemed unsure, looking back and forth between the woman and Tyler. The other nodded along with her, clearly not knowing the full story. I don't want to be part of some online argument, Tyler said. I live here. I've been here for 8 years. Please stop filming me and let's talk like neighbors. But she just laughed. You live here? In that tiny cabin? It doesn't make you a resident of our neighborhood? You don't pay dues? You don't attend meetings? And you don't follow the rules. Tyler felt something inside him shift. He had always tried to stay away from conflict, to live quietly. But now someone was trying to paint him as a problem, as a rule breaker, even when he had done nothing wrong. I don't attend your HOA meetings, he said slowly, because I'm not part of your HOA. This land was sold separately before your community even existed. I have nothing to do with your rules. The woman raised her eyebrows, clearly not expecting that answer. But instead of backing down, she changed her tactic. Oh sure, she said sarcastically. Now he's saying he's special. That he owns the lake. How convenient, her husband added. If you're so sure, show us the papers. I will, Tyler said. But not here. Not while you're yelling and filming me like I'm some criminal. If you want to talk, come tomorrow with respect. I'll show you everything. But the woman had already turned away, talking into her phone again. Hear that, everyone? Now he's threatening us. He's refusing to cooperate. Tyler sighed. He could see that talking wouldn't help. She didn't want truth. She wanted attention. Later that evening, Tyler logged into his laptop and searched for the video she had mentioned. It didn't take long to find. She had posted it under the title, "Trespasser on Community Lake Refuses to Leave." The video showed Tyler from a distance in his kayak. Her voice was loud, saying things like, "This man is not one of us, and he's been warned. But he keeps breaking the rules." The comments were mixed. Some people supported her, saying things like, "Call the cops." People like, "That ruin communities." Others asked for proof or said she sounded rude, but Tyler didn't like any of it. He hadn't even spoken in the video. She had told only one side of the story, her side. That night, he felt more frustrated than ever. It wasn't just about being wrongly accused. It was the feeling of being watched, judged, and turned into a villain by someone who didn't even know him. She had moved in just weeks ago and already thought she owned everything around her. The next morning, Tyler took a walk through his property. He looked at the edges of the land, the boundary markers, the place where the dock met the water. Everything he had built with his own hands was now being treated like stolen ground. As he walked back, he saw a group of teenagers riding bikes down the trail by the lake. One of them pointed at him and whispered something to the others. Laughed. Tyler didn't know what they had heard or what their parents had told them. But the damage was already spreading. In the following days, things got worse. Tyler started receiving emails from unknown addresses. Some were angry, some mocking, and a few even threatening. One message said, "Leave while you can. You're not welcome here." Another read, "You think you're smart, but we're watching." It felt like the whole community was turning against him all because of one loud, misinformed person. But Tyler didn't panic. He was upset, yes, but he knew one thing clearly. Truth was on his side. He had every legal right to be there. And if they wanted to fight, they would have to face facts, not just Facebook. He called his real estate lawyer and explained the situation. The lawyer asked him to scan and send the documents again, just in case. Tyler took new pictures of the dock, the boundaries, and his deed. The lawyer assured him, "You're 100% within your rights. If they keep this up, we can send them a formal notice." That gave Tyler some peace. He wasn't a man who liked lawsuits or threats, but he also wasn't going to let someone bully him off land that he had paid for, cared for, and loved. Max sat beside him on the porch that evening, his head resting on Tyler's foot. The lake looked just as calm as before, but now it felt like a storm was building under the surface. Tyler looked out at the water and whispered, "They think I don't belong here. But I do, and they'll see that soon enough." He knew this was far from over. The woman wasn't going to stop. Not yet. But what she didn't know was that Tyler had something stronger than Noisy had proof. And when the truth came out, everything would change. Tyler sat quietly on his porch, watching the sun set over the lake. The warm colors in the sky reflected beautifully on the calm water. It should have been a peaceful evening, like so many others he had enjoyed over the past 8 years. His mind wasn't calm. He felt a storm inside him. The recent days had been full of tension, lies, and unwanted attention. All because one woman, Karen Hastings, had decided he didn't belong on the lake his lake. He had tried to be patient. He had offered to show his documents. He had asked for calm, for peace, for respect. But Karen didn't want peace. She wanted control. She wanted everyone to listen to her, believe her, and follow her without question. And when Tyler didn't obey, she decided to attack. She filmed him, accused him, and told half the town that he was a trespasser. She spread lies online, and now strangers looked at him like he was a criminal. The lake, once his place of comfort, now felt like a battlefield. But Tyler had something Karen didn't expect dash-proof late that night. Tyler went through his old files again. He had a large brown folder filled with real estate papers, maps, contracts, and legal notices. Every single document from the day he purchased the property was still safe. He found the original deed, signed and sealed. He found the map that clearly marked the boundaries of his land, including the section of the lake that was legally included in the sale. Then, the most important paper and easement agreement, signed by the town's land authority, stating that the portion of the lake attached to his land was for his exclusive use. This wasn't just a rental or shared community space. It was legally his, and that paper proved it. Tyler emailed scanned copies of everything to his lawyer the next morning. The lawyer reviewed them carefully and then called him. "You're absolutely in the right, Tyler," he said. "Your property was part of a special deal made before the current neighborhood was built. When they developed the new housing around the lake, they didn't change your rights. You have full private access to your section of the water. That woman has no legal claim." Tyler felt a mix of relief and anger. It was good to hear he wasn't wrong, but it also hurt that he had to go through all this just to prove something he already knew. "What do we do now?" Tyler asked. The lawyer replied, "We'll draft a formal notice. If she keeps harassing you or spreads more lies, we can take legal action. But first, let's give her a chance to back down." Tyler agreed. He wasn't looking for a fight, just wanted his peace back. The next day, a letter was delivered to Karen's home. It came in a large envelope with the lawyer's firm name printed on the front. Inside, it clearly stated Tyler's property rights and warned Karen to stop the harassment immediately. It also mentioned that the video she had posted online was defamatory and could lead to legal consequences if she didn't take it down. Karen didn't respond right away, but a few days later, something unexpected happened. The local Homeowners Association announced a meeting. Karen had requested it. She wanted to bring the issue to the community and, in her words, protect their lake from outsiders. When Tyler heard about it, he smiled. It was the perfect chance to tell the truth clearly, calmly, and with evidence. On the day of the meeting, Tyler arrived early, wore a clean shirt, simple jeans, and brought his documents in a neat folder. He wasn't nervous. He was ready. The meeting was held at the community hall, just a short walk from the lake. Dozens of people showed up, many of them curious about the man Karen had accused. As she stood at the front, full of confidence, smiling like she already won, she started speaking first. Her voice was loud, dramatic. "This lake belongs to our neighborhood," she said. "We've all agreed to certain rules, and we must protect our space. This man, Tyler, continues to use the lake without permission. He's disrespecting our community, ignoring our guidelines, and causing trouble." Some people nodded, others looked unsure. Then it was Tyler's turn. He walked to the front, placed his folder on the table, and spoke calmly. "Thank you for giving me the chance to speak," he said. "I know many of you don't know me well, but live quietly at the end of the lake. I've been here for 8 years. I never caused problems. I never broke any rules." He opened the folder and held up the first document. "This is the deed to my land. When I bought it, I also purchased the legal rights to this section of the lake." He pointed to the map. "This area here is part of my property. It's not shared. It's not public. It's mine." He continued, showing the papers one by one, explaining everything clearly. No drama. Just facts. Then he looked at Karen. "I tried to explain this to you. I invited you to see the documents. You refused. Instead, you recorded me, posted lies online, and told people I was trespassing. That's not just wrong, it's hurtful." The room was quiet. Everyone listened. Some people looked at Karen, waiting for her response. She didn't smile now. Her face was red, her arms crossed tightly. One neighbor raised a hand and asked, "Is this true? You really own that part of the lake?" "Yes," Tyler replied. "And I have no problem with people enjoying the lake respectfully, but I won't be chased off my own land," another person said. "Karen told us you were dangerous, that you were hiding something." Tyler shook his head. "I'm hiding nothing. My door is always open. I just want to be left in peace." By the end of the meeting, everything had changed. People saw the truth. Karen, once full of power and confidence, now looked small and embarrassed. Her lies had been exposed, and her supporters had disappeared. After the meeting, several neighbors came to Tyler to apologize. "We didn't know," one said. "We're sorry for the way things went," another said. "If you ever need anything, we're here." Tyler smiled and thanked them. It felt good to be seen for who he really was. Karen, however, didn't say a word. She walked out quickly, her head down. That night, the video she had posted was deleted. Tyler's name was no longer being mentioned in angry comments. The online noise faded, and peace returned. But more importantly, something inside Tyler shifted. He realized that sometimes you have to speak up. Even quiet people need to stand their ground when the truth is being attacked. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't get angry. He used facts, and that made all the difference. He returned to his cabin, walked out to the dock, and sat with Max by his side. The water was still, the stars were out, and the lake belonged to him once again, not just in paper, but in peace. He took a deep breath and whispered, "Truth always floats back to the surface." And with that, he leaned back, smiled, and listened. To the sound of the quiet lake he had always loved and always owned. The days after the community meeting were strange for Tyler. He was used to quiet mornings and peaceful evenings. But now people who had once ignored him were waving, smiling, even stopping to chat. Some apologized, others simply nodded with respect. The neighbors who once believed Karen's lies had finally heard the truth, and it was clear that everything had changed. But even though the air around him felt lighter, Tyler knew it wasn't over yet, not completely. Karen hadn't apologized. Not publicly, not privately. After the meeting, she disappeared from sight for a few days. Her house looked empty. The neighbors whispered that she was embarrassed, maybe even angry that her plan hadn't worked. Tyler didn't care much for gossip, but he stayed alert. He had learned that people like Karen don't just give up, they wait, they plot, and sometimes they strike again when you least expect it. One morning, Tyler was drinking coffee on his porch when a letter arrived. In the mail, it was folded inside a white envelope with no return address. He opened it slowly, expecting more threats or complaints. But to his surprise, it was from the local sheriff's department. It said that a complaint had been filed again, this time about unauthorized structures near water, possibly referring to Tyler's dock. It wasn't an official warning, just a note saying that someone had raised a concern. Tyler shook his head and smiled bitterly. Of course, she wasn't done. Instead of reacting with anger, he called his lawyer again. "She's still trying?" the lawyer said, sounding amused. "Let her. Your dock is legal. It's been there for years. You've got all the permits. If she pushes harder, we'll push back with stronger action." Tyler nodded, feeling a sense of calm. This time he wasn't afraid or annoyed. He was simply ready. Karen might still be trying to hold on to her pride, but Tyler had something she couldn't touch. The truth, the law, the support of those who had seen what really happened. A week later, the Homeowners Association held another small event near the lake. It wasn't a formal meeting, just a barbecue and get-together for families. Tyler wasn't planning to go, but a few kind neighbors insisted. "You should come," one of them said. "You deserve to enjoy the lake too." So he went. He brought a plate of cookies, wore his favorite cap, and brought Max along, who quickly became the center of attention with the children. People treated Tyler like an old friend now. They asked him questions about the cabin, about how long he had lived there, and even about the best places to fish in the lake. It was strange and nice at the same time. For years he had been the quiet guy no one paid attention to. Now, after being wrongly accused and proving his innocence, he was seen differently. He was respected. But then Karen showed up. She came alone, walking slowly toward the picnic tables. People saw her and turned away, some whispering, others simply ignoring her. Her confident smile from before was gone. She looked uncomfortable, like she didn't know how to exist in the place where her lies had been exposed. She spotted Tyler, standing near a group of neighbors, and walked toward him. Everyone nearby turned quiet, waiting to see what would happen. "Tyler," she said, voice lower than usual. He turned to face her. "Yes, I I wanted to say I'm sorry. Was quiet. Everyone could hear her. I was wrong, she said, eyes not meeting his. I didn't know about your rights to the lake. I should have listened. I shouldn't have posted that video. It was not right. Tyler looked at her, not with anger, but with something like disbelief. Not because she apologized, but because of the way she did it. Quick, forced, flat-like. She had to say it, not because she meant it. I appreciate you saying that, Tyler said politely. But you caused a lot of trouble. Honestly, I'm not sure you really understand how much damage you did. She didn't reply. She just nodded awkwardly and walked away. A few neighbors clapped quietly, not to mock her, but to support Tyler. One of them said, "You handled that better than I ever could." Tyler smiled. Sometimes silence is louder than shouting. That night, the stars reflected on the water like little sparks of light. Tyler sat on the edge of his dock, feet in the water, Max resting nearby. The lake felt calm again, truly calm. He had fought a storm, not with fists or shouting, but with patience and proof. And now, peace had returned. But he wasn't done just yet. He went inside and opened his laptop. The video Karen had posted had been taken down, yes, but screenshots still floated online. People who hadn't heard the full story were still commenting, still assuming things that weren't true. Tyler didn't care about fame or attention, but he believed in fairness, so he wrote a short post and shared it on the same neighborhood group. Asterisk, asterisk, hello neighbors. Many of you have now heard about the issue regarding my use of the lake. I want to thank those who took the time to listen, learn, and support the truth. I've lived here peacefully for 8 years. I own my property legally, including the portion of the lake attached to it. All my documents are valid, and anyone. Whoever wants to see them, I'll gladly show them again. I don't hold hate in my heart, and I won't let anger guide my actions. I only ask for fairness and peace, the same respect I give to others. Thank you. Asterisk, asterisk, the post got dozens of kind replies. People commented things like, "Glad to have you as a neighbor. You're a class act and wish more people handled things like you." One reply stood out. "You didn't just prove your rights. You earned our respect." After that, things truly began to settle. Karen kept her distance. She stopped showing up at events. Reputation in the community never really recovered. But Tyler didn't rub it in. He wasn't that kind of person. Instead, he focused on what he loved: his cabin, the trees, the soft sound of the lake. He took longer kayak trips, started reading more on the porch, and even helped a couple of young neighbors learn how to fish. One evening, the same neighbor who first believed Karen came by with a pie. "I never said sorry," the man admitted. "I believed her without checking the facts. That was wrong." Tyler accepted the pie with a kind smile. "It's okay. You saw the truth. That matters more." The man nodded. "We're lucky to have you around." And just like that, Tyler's quiet life returned, but now with something more. Before he had peace. Now he had community. He hadn't asked for attention, but through calm strength. He had become someone others looked up to. He sat by the lake that night, watching the moonlight dance on the water. Max lay at his side, tail wagging gently in his sleep. Tyler whispered to the wind. Some people try to take what isn't theirs. Some people shout to feel powerful. But real power comes from knowing who you are and standing by it. In that moment, with the stars above and the water below, Tyler knew he had won not just a fight for land or lake, but a quiet battle for truth, respect, and dignity. He smiled softly, took a sip of warm tea, and watched the night settle gently. Over the lake he had always called home. The morning after everything settled felt different. Oh, not because the sun was brighter or the air fresher, but because for the first time in many weeks, Tyler truly felt free again. A heavy cloud of doubt, judgment, and unnecessary conflict had finally drifted away. He sat on his porch with his loyal dog Max beside him, holding a hot cup of coffee in his hands and watching the light ripple across the surface of the lake he loved. So much this lake wasn't just water and waves to him. It was peace. It was healing. It was a reminder that after a long life of hard work, some dreams really do come true. When he first bought this property, he had only wanted one thing: to live quietly and enjoy the simple beauty of nature. But what had happened over the past few weeks tested everything he believed in. He'd been shouted at, filmed, lied about, and accused of being somewhere he didn't belong. But the truth stood firm. The truth had spoken louder than her voice, louder than her phone camera, and louder than all the angry comments on social media. And now, finally, he could breathe. Over the next few weeks, the community's view of Tyler changed entirely. Neighbors who once avoided eye contact now waved warmly when they saw him walking Max. One woman even brought him homemade soup with a kind note that read, "Thanks for handling everything with grace. We're glad you're here." One Saturday morning, a few kids knocked on his door. "Can we fish off your dock?" they asked politely. Tyler smiled. "Of course, just treat the lake with kindness." They nodded quickly and ran off, excited. Tyler watched them from his porch. For years he had stayed away from neighborhood events and gatherings. He didn't mind being alone. But now he was starting to understand that having a few good people around wasn't such a bad thing. One of the most surprising moments came when the local sheriff himself stopped by. "Just wanted to say," the sheriff began, "we looked into those complaints filed against you. Everything checked out. It's clear you've been nothing but respectful." Tyler thanked him. "I never wanted trouble, just peace." The sheriff nodded. "And you've earned it. If anything else comes up, let us know. You've got more people watching your back now." That meant something, not just legally, but emotionally. It meant that the community had come to see Tyler not as a stranger, not as a problem, but as a real part of them. He hadn't shouted to be heard. He hadn't fought with anger. He had stood firm with patience and honesty. And that had left a much deeper mark. Karen, on the other hand, had become invisible. After her forced apology at the neighborhood event, she had completely pulled back. Her online accounts went quiet. She stopped attending HOA meetings. Her once loud voice was now silent, and her house looked closed most days. Tyler didn't feel victorious about that. He didn't smile at her, silence, or laugh at her fall from community favor. He felt a little sad, honestly. Not for her behavior, because she had been cruel and dishonest, but for the fact that someone could choose conflict over kindness, lies over truth, and still think they were doing the right thing. He hoped she learned something. Maybe not right. Away, but in time, weeks turned into months, and the seasons began to shift. Leaves turned gold and red, and the lake reflected their colors like a painting. Tyler found joy in small things, again paddling across the water at sunrise, sitting under the trees with Max and chatting with the occasional neighbor who dropped by for a cup of coffee or two, ask about fishing spots. Then one afternoon, received a letter not from a lawyer or the HOA, but from a publishing company. It read, "Dear Mr. Tyler, we recently came across your story in a community blog post shared online. We were touched by the calm, respectful way you handled the situation and how your quiet strength became a source of inspiration for others. We'd like to know if you'd consider writing a short piece about your experience for our magazine. Many people can learn from how you dealt with the conflict. Please let us know. We would be honored." Tyler stared at the letter for a long time. He wasn't a writer. He had never even thought about sharing his life in that way. But maybe his story could help someone else. Maybe there were people out there feeling wrongly judged, misunderstood, or pushed out of a place they had every right to be in. If telling his story could help just one person feel stronger, it would be worth it. So he sat down, opened his laptop, and began to write. He didn't write like a lawyer or a politician. He didn't use big words or fancy sentences. He just told the story from his heart. "There was a time I thought silence was enough, that if I just stayed quiet, people would leave me alone. But sometimes silence is mistaken for weakness. Sometimes people try to take from you what they don't understand. They yell, accuse, and leave thinking that being loud means being right. But I've learned that you don't need to shout to be heard. You just need truth, patience, and the strength to stand tall, even when others try to pull you down." Finished the piece and sent it in. A few weeks later, it was published. and to his surprise, it became one of the most treated articles that month. Messages poured in from strangers across the country. Some wrote, "Thank you for reminding me that kindness is strength. Your story gave me hope. I'm going through something similar. You helped me believe in the power of truth again." Tyler sat on the porch, reading the messages slowly, sometimes with a tear in his eye. He had never expected this. His quiet life, once interrupted by loud lies, had now touched people he would never even meet. That was powerful. One crisp morning, as fall turned to winter, Tyler took Max on a walk around the edge of the lake. Snowflakes had begun to fall softly, covering the ground like a blanket. Everything was quiet, still, peaceful. He stopped at the far end of the lake, the exact spot where Karen had first yelled at him months ago. It looked different now, not because the place had changed, but because Tyler had. He had faced lies with facts, cruelty with calm, and hate with patience. He hadn't just defended his land, he had defended his dignity. He looked out at the water, now lightly frozen near the edges, and whispered, "This is my lake. Not just on paper, but in spirit. No one can take that away." He turned around and walked home, Max's paws making little prints in the snow behind them. Tyler knew life would always bring storms people who doubted, accused, or tried to control what wasn't theirs. But he also knew now that storms pass. Truth stays, and peace, once fought for, becomes even more beautiful. He stepped back onto his porch, took off his boots, and sat down with a warm drink. A single snowflake landed on his hand and melted quietly, disappearing into the warmth. And that was how Tyler's story ended, not with noise or revenge, but with quiet strength, clear skies, and the calm waters of a lake that had always been his.